Hi, welcome back to Startup Show San Diego. I'm your host, Tony Boucher, and we are here at Startup Week, an amazing week of activities, and right now we are at our HQ at Wework Cowork. And today we are very honored to be with Erik Birkfeld. He is a Director of Engineering Operations over at MindTouch.
That's right, Tony.
Erik,
Pleasure to meet you. Thank you.
for being here.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
So you're telling me a little bit about how you got into the software industry. What was the genesis of this? How did it all start?
Video games. So like many others, growing up in the 80s, got into video games, realized that this was awesome and I could really get my brain around it, and then I realized that I probably wasn't smart enough to do that. So through the 80s, through the 90s rather, when I actually got into engineering, it was mostly early web and web architectures and just coding, just sitting in a cube and writing lines of code and being, you know, one of those. Yeah.
So what was the transition? You were in a cubicle writing code,
Yeah.
and you want to break out of that. So then you found MindTouch?
So back it up a little bit. So in the late 90s, living in New Jersey and working as part of that coding front, I realized one thing, that a lot of the engineers that I was around, that were on my teams, were dissatisfied. There was very little understanding of why they were doing what they were doing, and at the end of the day, they were not happy. So Henry Ford said that your greatest asset turns off the lights at the end of the day. And I always said, well, if that's your greatest asset and it's frowning while it does it, that's probably not a good business model. So around the late 90s, early 2000s, I really turned and pivoted and started focusing on building teams and working with companies to make sure that the right people were in the right seats on the right bus, had the right understanding of what and why they were doing it, and really got to go home at night to their families and go, I succeeded today.
That's excellent. Taking and building teams is a very crucial part of any business.
Yep.
And especially what's even better is that now they're happy. They can go home to their families and said they had a great day at work.
Yeah.
So explain to me a little bit more about what's your favorite part about going to work each day at MindWork?
Again, going to work each day at MindTouch is I get to work with some really brilliant people. And a good friend of mine, Steve Bjorg, who's the CTO and technical co-founder, he and I struck up a relationship when my daughter, who's 7 now, was in kindergarten, and we got to talking at an event one time, and there was some synergy there. Hey, my team's going through, you know, this kind of movement, and we would love some new eyes. I went in and did some consulting for them and got to work with the team and work with him and understand their dynamic. 3 years later, you know, we're a match made in heaven.
Oh.
So getting to go in and work with my whole team and the diversity of that team, both technical and mindset and understanding, and getting to see them really understand themselves and become better at what they're doing and feel good about it is everything. That's my success. That's how I gauge my success.
That is incredible. And now, through this journey you've taken, is there any part where you kind of had some sort of a challenge when it comes to building and creating these teams?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the greatest challenge is always ourselves, right? We often put ourselves in positions where we're shooting from the hip. You know, perfect example, I always find myself standing at the sink at night and there's food on silverware. My wife will put a knife with peanut butter in, and I have the opportunity to either be the good guy or the bad guy. Hey, honey, you put the knife in with peanut butter again, or I can just clean the knife, right? I mean, it's this pause, reflect, act. And if you think about the outcome from previous situations, it helps you, you know, engineer your new outcome.
Yeah.
So obstacles are always working with people who are habitually in the mindset of solve, solution first, and they're not truly thinking about outcomes. So when I get to work with the team and we get to collectively engineer an outcome, create an opportunity, vision without action is a dream. Action without vision is a nightmare.
Yep.
Right? So we get to bring the action and the vision together. That's the win. So I get to do that win at MindTouch 98.3% of the time.
Man, that's terrific. And so you've been working with them for a while. Is there a particular person that really touched you, or you had a really good experience?
Sure. So Teresa Manzo, who heads up our product department, working with her about 3 years ago. She was on the UI UX team. I led the UI UX team, and really watching her, she now leads our product team, come to fruition and come through, that pivot is such a transitional move for her, and finding a voice and finding the legs to stand on and actually be a completely critical mechanism in our engine. I get to see that. That's a huge success. And then just see our team grow. We were at 20 when I joined, and now I think we're at 36 or 37. And seeing 36 and 37 people work well together and have process and trust and humility and respect. I mean, now all of them touch me, in that way, in a positive way. But it's a good thing. It's a very big success.
That's great. So you went from 20, now you're 30.
Yeah.
So when we have you here a year from today,
Yep.
and you're sitting in this seat, what are you going to be able to tell me? What does the future look like?
I think that the future is very strong, and I would like to say that MindTouch will have taken over the SaaS documentation side of the world, and our team would have grown probably by 14%, and that we are all happy and smiling. So I hope that I get to say that in a year. I'm confident that we have all the right people and all the right mechanisms in play to achieve that. It's just about taking the next steps and being pragmatic and proactive and happy and with what we're doing.
Oh, that's excellent. And for other people who are interested in MindTouch, how do they find out about you?
Go to mindtouch.com. We are also very involved in the technical community. MindTouch is hosting an entire day on the dev track with San Diego Startup Week at our offices on 101 West Broadway on the 15th floor. So if you have a ticket, come on down. We have 6 events on Wednesday that are going to be fantastic. And if you feel like coding, it's going to culminate with an amazing hackathon at the end of the day from about 5 o'clock to 10 p.m. And that's all hands in, get dirty. We're going to write some code, eat some pizza, and enjoy each other. So check us out.
Fantastic. Eric, thank you so much for coming here.
My pleasure.
And thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time.